Going on, guys? Just wanted to come on here really quick and make a video for you. So I'm just combing out the hair here in all directions in all the natural hair growth, and I am going with the number 2, I think. Yep, I'm going with the number 2, closed around the ridge of the head against all of the hair growth. Also, I'm going against the grain, what I just did, to kind of smooth out that transition from top to bottom. So go with the grain and against the grain, and you should have a good transition. Just making sure everything is nice and smooth and blended out. Now I'm going with the number 0, closed on the clipper. And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of like following the shape of the head. So I'm dropping down where that bone is on the back of the head. And what you want to do is you want to make like your shortest guideline under that bone. And what that will give you is a nice natural looking fade. So after the 0, I'll go with my trimmer and just go along the very bottom under that line. Just shave it off. Just make sure everything's nice and consistent and clean. After that, I'll grab my balder and do the same thing, just right under where you just did, and work under that, making sure everything's nice and clean. Then I'll grab my clipper and open the lever and go about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick right over that previous guideline we did. Just work it in, making sure that you remain consistent from start to finish. So from through the whole way of that guideline, making sure it's the same thickness. Then I'll just work it down to the number 0. So on your lever, at the very top end of the guide, you want to be open. Then you go halfway and then close, and just work in between from that bottom guideline to the top. Just work that in from 0 to open. I'm just making sure I'm working that in and all nice and consistent. Yeah, I'm just going with the 0 now and taking out that bottom line, making sure that everything is nice and blended. All right. Making sure, still just working that out. Now I'm grabbing my number 1 guard and opening that lever all the way open, and I'm working the same thing. So this the same previous step. I'm just going about 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch above that previous guideline, and just working that in. On this step here, you might not see a huge guideline like your previous, but it will be like more of a shadow. Then what you want to do is close that lever and try to knock out that bottom guide. It's going to be more like a heavy shadow. Just working that in. And what I'm doing here is I'm going back on my previous step and blending that dark area out, and just going back and forth, just going from my previous step to my further step, number 1. So number 1.5, number 1.5, and what that does is kind of makes that blend more consistent and more of a shadow blend. If you need to use your 0.5, you can go ahead and do that. Take out your 0.5 and kind of work that out. Your 0.5 guard. But you can achieve this with the flick and the 0.5 lever. So if you just leave the lever open all the way and flick and rework that into the number 1 and 0.5, that should work out. And what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of cleaning up that transition area we did before with the number 2 and then 1. So I'm just going with the grain, taking out some bulk and areas that I don't need, and just working that in. So going number one with the grain downwards, then number one open upwards, and just kind of working that in between. As you can see here, I'm not done yet. In the back area, I gotta do the same thing what I just did. So just number one open, number one close, and then you go drop down to your 0.5 open on your guard, and you just kind of flick that into the number one area, and just going back and forth, and it should really work out. All right, so I'm doing the same thing what I just did to the sides on the back, and you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here is I'm going with the grain on my number one open, and then I'll go with the grain number one closed. Then I'll grab my 1.5 guard, and I'll go against the grain open, then closed. And what that does is it makes sure it just blends perfectly from side to top, or from top to bottom in that transition area. All right, so I'm just picking it out now, like picking out with his hair, just making sure everything is nice and combed out. And what this does is just make sure like you don't leave any long areas or any long hairs. So just picking it out. And what you want to do here is make sure you create one guide. So I like to start in the middle of the head, is I'll create one flat guide, and it's kind of level with the floor. So one flat guide in the center, and rework everything from that. So you go one flat level guide and work all the sides out from that area, if that makes sense. So you want to be flat on top. Then you pick it out again and do the same thing, the same process. Make sure everything nice and level, flat, 90-degree with the floor. And this customer requested more of a round look on the sides, so I grabbed my scissors and I just rounded out the edges here, just on the sides. So instead of getting a box look, we're gonna get more of a leveled, rounded look on top. There you are. We're just trimming that up, making sure that's all okay and trimmed up. All nice and level and clean, flowing with the haircut. What the scissors do is actually it just grabs any little inconsistencies and imperfections that you may have missed with the clipper, and it's more softer and forgiving, because with the clipper sometimes you can just go in there and just take out a little bit too much. There you go. You can see it kind of coming together. Then with the outliner, you have just kind of follow the natural guide of the hair. The last thing you want to do is kind of dig in on his natural hairline, because customers or anybody really notices that. So nobody really wants that type of outline. So try to make it natural as possible, and you should be okay. All right, so here's a finished product. I'm just showing that one side I completed. I still have the other side to do, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I just wanted to do that one side for you guys. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And this concludes one of my haircut videos, but during the whole month of January, I'm going to just drop all of my archives, what I've had and what I've done in the past. There's a lot, so let me know what you guys want to see in the future. I'm willing to do tutorials, product reviews, clipper reviews, even some business advice, what you can do as a barber. I've been doing this a real long time, and we're going on about 11 years, so I'm willing to share whatever I've learned over my time as a barber, and you know, just give it to you guys. So yeah, peace and take care.